Harry from Erkrath, Germany. He has asked for your Mount Rushmore of wrestling tag teams.
Okay.
I don't know if that's like for a draw or just your favourites to watch or...
Midnight Express.
Mm-hmm.
Rock and Roll Express.
Mm-hmm.
The Assassins. Let's go way, way back. And Gene and Oley Anderson, the Anderson brothers. And I mean, there's a lot more people that's interchangeable, but that's just off the top of my head. But the Rock and Roll and the Midnight, they belong in there because when they had matches, they had bangers. That's a new word now. You got to have a banger. I mean, and they drew nothing but money with those guys all across the country. They was in Oklahoma, Mid-South, nothing but money, nothing but money. Then they went to Mid-Atlantic, nothing but money. So, and they were a better fit, I think, in Mid-Atlantic than they were in Mid-South. But, of course, they had that heater, Jim Cornette, outside the ring. And Jim was walking heat because everybody in the crowd hated Jim Cornette. I mean, literally hated him. See, if you were a wrestler, some people can actually like you even though you're a bad guy. But managers, there was nothing to like about Jimmy. You immediately hated him from the moment you saw him. And when he got that tennis racket, that was his defense mechanism. He hit me one night with that tennis racket. I went to the dressing room. I said, Jimmy, thank you, man. Thank you. I said, brother, do I owe you money? No. I said, you hit me like I hadn't paid you in like a month. Well, he hit me, and it was flat, and it was solid, and it sounded off on that whole arena. That's what he was going for. Well, he got it. It didn't really hurt that bad, but it stung, and I knew he was there. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, I hit you too hard. I said, I'd let it go. I wasn't mad about it or anything, but I mean, he could bring that thing. But imagine if he turned that thing sideways and went with it, with that metal, with that wood part, with a fan. And that's what he would do. You know, he would get them pretty good. It's a damn wonder Jimmy wasn't sued more, really.
I think he was around
1990
or something, but yeah, I think he did have to go to court. We've talked about the Assassins a fair amount, but we've not really talked about Oley and Gene Anderson. So why do they make it onto your top 4 tag teams ever?
Okay, you talking about Terry and Dory Funk? They were just like miles apart in personality and style. Gene and Oley was similar to that, but both of them had that grind you down style. They were totally 2 different personalities, but in the ring, they meshed well. This is what they would do. They had a strategy, and the Assassins had a strategy too. It was called cut the ring in half, and you tried to keep your opponent in your half of the ring always. And that gives the commentators something to talk about. They have a great strategy. Once they get him weakened down, if they can keep him in their side of the ring and keep him from making the tag, and that made the tag so important. So if he made the tag, he topped the first test, and now we're off and running. They were very, very good. Oley did great interviews. I mean, and Oley is another one that you just couldn't like if you wanted to. I mean, he had this interview that if you could, you'd reach into TV and pull him out and choke him because people hated Oley. And Gene never talked. I don't think Gene could talk, tell you the truth. Oley always did the talking, a mile a minute. And he was the same way when he was a booker. You know, if he liked you, great. If he didn't like you, oh my God, your life was a living hell. Because he didn't make it that way, because he didn't give a shit. And I don't think I don't know the last time I saw Oley. I think it was at least 6-7 years ago. He was still the same way. Now he's hurt. Now something wrong with him. He was in a wheelchair, but his attitude has not changed. And I like Oley, and I think he liked me. I think, but good guy. But there were some people that hated Oley. I mean, in the business, they just hated him.